Hey everyone. Okay, so I guess the place to start with this chapter is the fact that Jay Garcia was deposed as Godhead of Science and Defense by Emu, and replacing him was Garling. And the transition, as we see, was less than pleasant as Emu basically siphoned Jay Garcia's power out of him, reducing him to nothing but bones. This is a brutal reminder that even if they're immortal, all their power comes from is Emu's power, and he can just as easily take it away as he can gift it. And now, the one thing that wasn't made entirely clear about this whole thing though is, but I'm left to assume, is that Emu can transfer that power again to another after regaining it. So I have to mention what we'll be seeing Garling utilizing Jay Garcia's power in the future, with him taking over his seat. But okay, let's talk shop in terms of what Garling becoming one of the Five Elders really means, because with him replacing Saturn, it's one of the first of many moments we get in this chapter that show the world of the winds of change are blowing and becoming a hurricane as Dragon laments. Not everyone is going to prepare to face Vegapunk's warning of the calamity as peacefully as some others will, and you can already see elements of that boiling to the surface at Marie Joie, of all places, where you see the celestial dragons starting to fight amongst themselves over their food shortage, which, to be fair, rightfully deserved after centuries strong arming the lower classes with their god techs. Yet the irony is they still are probably better off than what people below the surface are going to face, and that one celestial dragon laments they're still better off than those who live below when the calamity comes, unless someone destroys the red line. Wink, wink. But yeah, with that being said, there is such an immense irony to what we learn about Saturn in this chapter, and how rather than dispose of the Iron Giant, he chose to keep it around, like to have it studied. It's so it could be utilized as a weapon for the government's needs. But in keeping it around rather than destroying it, fucking years later, he basically caused his own demise. And the weapon he was hoping the government would point at all those who opposed them. Ultimately, it was a weapon that was pointed back at him, and they could just like Saturn's lack of awareness and inability to take the future into consideration is ultimately what caused his own failure. And as Doberman kind of rightly does point out, his inability to foresee these events does do much more to give credence to Vegapunk's claims than it does to debunk them. When you really think about it, everything that's gone wrong for the government, it truly is Jay Garcia's fault. And as much as I don't think the man's as much as I don't want to say it outright that the man had it was that the man deserved to die, he did bring it on himself. Everything that's happened, yeah, man just kind of brought on himself. It's something he himself, he just never really was able to. He's never able to really come to reckon with, unfortunately, because he thought everything he was doing was in the right, or everything he was doing would lead to the perfect outcome as he predicted. Speaking of Vegapunk, though, we cut to York kind of cleaning up the mess and the aftermath of everything that went down on Egghead, and only to realize Edison and the others were still alive and made off with Punk Records, where we get the reveal that they are in fact alive by having combined bits and pieces of their bodies together. So yeah, I was way off base by having their consciousness saved onto a server or what not, and honestly it's more in line with the crazy and kookiness Oda loves going for, but by just having them kind of combine bits and pieces of themselves. And as we see from the Lavosphere, that they pretty much are going to have the ability in order to kind of reconstruct themselves. The Lavosphere is like a giant factory that mass produces their own body parts, so they can easily kind of just repair themselves. But okay, with knowing with knowing they're alive, though, that does put them on the board as a bit of a wild card to really be the ones to help come up with a solution to either prevent the calamity or subvert it when it comes, because when it does come. Because this chapter definitely played it up like it's almost an inevitability, but there are avenues that the world can at least weather the worst of the storms, so to speak, as seen when Edison calls up Weatheria for help. Which honestly, it's not totally shocking surprise that it's not a total shocking surprise there, because the more I thought about Weatheria in concept, and especially when going through Egghead arc, the more I thought this had to have a connection to Vegapunk, and lo and behold, Vegapunk is acquainted with the people of Weatheria. Like he did take the, it's whether it was that he took their ideas and manufactured them in a way that to be mass produced on Earth in the world, or that they each kind of took from each other. I don't know. Which does, but knowing that Vegapunk was acquainted with the people of Weatheria, though, it does push more in the direction that Weatheria will have an important role to play when things do go south, particularly with their ability to control and maintain weather clouds. Like, yeah, that alone, it already kind of has the vibe of like these people do in fact have the power to do it, and of course, obviously, we also see that, and of course, one of the other things we also see in this chapter is the world government making the rules. It cuts to them kind of piecing together Vegapunk's message, and that from those who do find the One Piece are ultimately going to be the ones to decide the fate of the world. And I'm not gonna lie, this does put the world. This does put the This is put the Revolutionary Army into a bit of a weirdly awkward position if you think about it, because if their goal is to prevent the world from being consumed by this calamity, then for like whether Dragon, Sabo, everyone else likes it or not, that does put them in direct opposition with Luffy as well. Like I'm sure Luffy wouldn't do anything to intentionally endanger the world, but Luffy, we do gotta admit that Luffy isn't the most tactful with a lot of things. So it's like, at most, I think we're gonna see the world government keeping a very close eye on Luffy beyond this point. Frankly, like they kind of have to. It's the only way to kind of prevent him from doing something that's probably gonna fuck things over massively. But yeah, guys, that's pretty much all I got for this review. If you enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe. From on Twitter, Analyst Crunchyroll, be sure notification bell, with the subscribe button, and just share it around, guys. Dark Knight of Renee signing off. Later, everyone.